aspect.
I didn't record any of it. It was such a good meeting.
Oh, yeah. I was, I noticed that. Hello, recording. I saw that and I was like, oh, well, maybe they're just not having the recording, it's sort of a, but that was really nice. That was good. It was good work. We had, Kevin was here and, Green Man, Andrew was here.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's sorry. I'm just the worst at that, as everybody knows. I remember.
Wow. I should have reminded you. But you know what? I kind of like it without recording. I definitely feel a little nicer, for whatever reason. It's just, I don't know why. I'm not hiding anything, but it's just, there's something about the recording. It would be cool if there was just like, it's just sort of, it's just the red or light, the light is on or off and you don't know if it's actually recording. It just goes, just so that we practice like the idea that it's always being recorded or it's never being recorded.
Yeah. So Natalie, so you were saying operationalizing, and then I cut you off because I started recording.
All excited about the recording. I just think that's the component. Yeah, like you were saying, that's the difference. And I don't know if individuals have been operationalized before.
Right.
Have they?
Right. And what would that look like in a human, and empathetic, like real, genuine, authentic way, as opposed to like a machine, way, Yeah. Like how can we create processes that respect like the human first, realizing that, I am the I'm the one who, dehumanizes myself. It's an interesting thing. For instance, like yoga classes or meditation classes. And, like people will get down and they'll like listen to the teacher and they'll do like this real mechanical, like movement type of thing. And they sort of forget their soft humanness. It gets to be a real, awareness exercise of like how I treat like myself or like what I think of as, exercise. And then the one modality is this thing called Feldenkrais, which is it's a somatic practice, and it's like the most humane and gentle of the exercise practices that I know, and thusly it's really powerful to me. I would like to create the Feldenkrais of like online community, so that it does have a method, it does have a process, but in the process is front and center, like always coming back to the humanness and the wholeness of the person, like it never forgets it. For instance, you go to a yoga class and they're like, okay, we want you to breathe and be grounded and like, just let's hold on to this breath through the whole practice. And then the very next thing is like left hand on the right hip and pull this back and do this sort of thing. And you're like, and then, they always come back to it, but it's just, I don't know. It just seems like we could create something that like really followed that like human first, principle,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We had to leave.
Yeah. So, right. Surabhi just messaged me and said that she had to jump off, but she didn't want to interrupt. She didn't want to interrupt you, Newman.
All right.
So yeah. So she had to jump off, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's I'm very I'm very stoked about like what is happening here and what can happen. It's nice to get connected. It was really great to see Andrew, and reconnect with him, and pretty happy that he's wants to come and hang out some. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I dig what you're saying, about the humanness. I think hopefully that's what, that's a real difference maker, is that it's the human connection that's sort of driving the operationalizing, because it's not like some third party entity is saying, okay, now I'm going to I'm going to pick you and I'm going to pick you. And then I'm, and pull you out and operationalize you because you're whatever. I think you're the best, so it's more
Right.
like we're doing it, it's a group kind of comes from the group.
Here's an idea with that. What Andrew was talking about like the programming.
Thank you.
The
Sorry.
programming. You're right. About like being programmed and not understanding that we are being programmed. And a lot of it has to do with this identity thing with the profiles. Like social media has this profile of us, and they know what we, they know more about us than we know, which I think is like fundamentally is tough, and wouldn't it be great if we could sort of flip that and start programming ourselves and knowing more, there's something with governance and identity and transparency. Like I would love to know behind the, backstage is like what's being presented to me and why, like in social media. Like what are the probabilities like listed around my interactions, and that wouldn't it be cool if like that knowledge was, if not, was just stored closer to me and where I had access to it. Now, this is a little bit, airy, not necessarily grounded, but our communities can serve us and we can take ownership of them, and we can take sort of governance, decision-making and participation. And we can really make them like we want them, as opposed to sort of like accepting them. Yeah. Sort of what my thought, sort of what my thought is.
Yeah. So with all that, I'm looking at the time. So I want to bring in, this is around that time in the meeting where, I try and bring in like, action steps. Where do we go from here? It's great. I really love the everybody's response to kind of like what we're talking about here. And what I'm hearing or what I'm getting reflected, is really kind of a positive response to the, the idea of the web portal. And so to me, it feels like, right, because there's people who are, like us beautiful people and you beautiful people, sort of like, I've been here and been core, but there's people kind of on the periphery who are really interested. But I think there's a way where maybe having something like this that's very tangible, that basically starts to put what we're talking about into a tangible way of facilitating that, could then, bring more people in, in a more active kind of way.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I'm, I'm excited. I want, I'm already kind of doing, a bunch of value exchanges for people, with people, but I really want to, So then the question is, okay, well, what are the action steps, here, like for this week? Is it just a matter of like, hey, we need to maybe take a little more time before like jumping into Notion and, think about what tool we're going to use initially?
Well, maybe it's, maybe it's more structure, maybe it's less, right? Or maybe it's more tangible, like do these things like a game. It's just like, okay, in the game you got to pass the first level, you've got to like get 3 flowers and 2 stars and 1 mushroom, you know, like you've got to like do these things. You know, like we could get that sort of granular, and just thinking out loud, like it's just like, okay, you come up with an offering and then you offer that thing to 2 people. And then you get a badge. Or like weekly, there are these like challenges. Like right now, there's this health challenge, and I really like them. There's something that I really love about it, and I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just somehow it's the thing that you know, I like doing, because it gives me, like you said, it's a tangible thing. It's like, oh, how do I participate in this challenge is being sponsored by the Women in Cardano group, and they're running on their Twitter. But there was also, you know, there were these challenges that were run on AdaWell and Mushroom Mob and some other like health challenge places. But I loved it when it was going on, because I was like, I knew that I was gonna, for instance, I went on there was one that was like go on a walk, or one like take a picture of something beautiful. And I knew that if I was doing that, I was participating in a tangible way and fulfilling, you know, the action, you know, I was helping and you know, doing something active to be a part of the community. And I don't, there wasn't, I mean, I guess sometimes there's external rewards, but a lot of times the reward is the, you know, finding something beautiful and taking a picture of it, you know? You know, so, you know, so there's value in that. But I feel like that's operationalized. It's just like, okay, create a process for people to engage. For instance, our onboarding process, it's like, okay, fill out the form, you check that box, fill out, you know, come to a one-on-one meeting. Yes, you did that. And come to, you know what I mean? We made a little onboarding level theme, you know, out of it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's cool. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I think that might be cool, and to get people thinking in terms of like value given or value offered, and needs, you know, offers and needs. Get them thinking in those terminologies, you know, and then making the marketplace where this exchange can happen, where you know, people can just sort of promote or sign or, you know, ask, just be, legitimizing, making it easy and okay for people to ask for their needs. Like that would be huge. That would be a monster thing, you know, just to recognize their needs and ask for them, you know, not in a weird way, not in a thing. Or on the other side, it's just like, hey, I have value to offer, you know, and I can, and there's a place where people will accept that value, and we can incentivize people to accept other people's offers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's okay to accept someone's offer.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I mean, I think what I'm hearing, right, is you know, sort of like the first thing that we started out on, you know, Newman, which is like this onboarding, you know, process.
Yeah.
Right. There's the outreach, but really there's like, I think what you're talking about more is like the onboarding, and then like even once somebody's onboarded, you're talking about, you know, like, oh, the facilitation, like how we exchange value. I mean, this is great, right? Because this isn't, you say these kind of things, you know, and it's like, I love it because they're not quite the things that I think of, right? Like I'm in Notion, in the tool, you know, and it's like, got to make everything, you know, connect, and what is the structure and all of that, you know, but sometimes I don't think about the, right, like at least initially, I'm not thinking about that what, you know, that user experience, you know, that human kind of experience, and, you know, what makes it fun for people. I'm like, you know, who cares if it's fun or not, you know, you got to do it. It's valuable. You're getting value, right? Which is not to say that's true, right? But that's just me acting out, you know. So I guess what we laid out the value right there clearly.
Right.
what do you need? What do you else do you need? So I guess, I'm just saying that's a possibility of something that you could, that you could work on and that you could create, right? That actually, because it's a process and because, we're sort of creating it and creating the tool, like what you create can get implemented, like pretty easily, because it's not, I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of barriers, to like, oh, this would be like a fun journey, right? So that way somebody's interested, So anyways, that's one idea of an action step.
Yeah.
So it's such a shame that you record at the end. Because you just have a bunch of recordings of me yawning.
Oh yeah.
I'm paying attention, I promise.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened when we started the last half hour.
Yeah. So in terms of action steps, and I don't know if it's this week, but something to look forward to, because I heard from Surabine and from you creating a functional system. And the nice thing, like, you do need time to like live and play in that space. So setting it up with like a small group of people that are willing to, set up profiles and kind of just feel it out and get that user experience Newman was talking about, and feedback and evolve from there. So just creating like that very basic template, because I'm also thinking from myself, I'm like, so why would I want to join this kind of community versus like go out to my community center, or like, I'm working with this other group in another place, and like, oh, well, is there a way that like I can connect it to this other group of people? Because, we have like a collaboration of different resources there, but is there a way that I can begin to like plug them in so they have their own community but are also attached to this one? So yeah, I think first steps is just creating that first one and vetting the like experience of that, and yeah, scalability, how to replicate it, stuff like that. One interesting thought I heard from a thoughtful thinker was this idea of AI, and that humans are going to have to find a way to work together and collaborate and prove ourselves useful to this AI, because AI is already able to like move faster and smarter than us in so many departments, right? And if we cannot prove our ability to collaborate and adapt and actually be a functional species, then there's like, logically, it makes no sense to keep us around, right? Like we cause more damage than benefit. So I thought that was an interesting thought, learning how to collaborate. And then another thinker started writing about how the Navy SEALs collaborate themselves, and how they are like specialized as individuals, but when it comes to a project, they can instantly, like, their top skill is that they can instantly drop into a group component, a group mindset, and that they also have the ability that anyone who like takes an action in like they're like dropping in on some emergency situation, and like somebody goes like left, the other person goes right, and if somebody decides this is what needs to do, there's no time to question who the leader is. So that ability, there's no ranks in the SEAL navies, there's like the colonel and general and all the soldiers. Anybody has the ability to like make a decision and like lead the team, and that mentality is also like what they were saying is that ability to instantly collaborate is like a huge benefit for any business at this point, if they're able to drop in. So these are some of like the headspaces and pieces of like human experience that we're venturing into and learning to gain experience. So yeah, like need to start training our own ops here, Rob. We're going in for collab.
We're training. We're training.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Like you're like that really caught me, you know, especially at the end there. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I get that because we are. It's like because that like it is it's a whole retraining, you know, and so. But I kind of love that. Like, what if we? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just said I can send you the article about the SEALs, Navy SEALs. It was really cool.
Please
Yeah.
do. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
That's you know, there is a special, like all of the, well, the military gets kind of a strange rap because there's so much like TV and kind of around it. And you know, there is a lot of like strategic, I mean, there is a lot of like real thinking, especially around all of this, and business minded.
And a lot of investment, right? Like how much like priority and money that those departments have been given. They're kind of like the edge of like
yeah,
where things can be pushed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so I know, and this is what pumped me up, you know, like was like I was like, oh yeah, can we be like an elite professional collaboration unit, you know?
Nice.
Yeah.
Because
Nice.
it's not
Yeah.
right, like that's the thing. It's, you know, that's like part of what, right, what we're saying in all these organizations we're working with, right? We're like, oh, you know, collaboration, it's not easy. We're not trained to do this. We're not, right? We're like, you know, it should be simple. We're like, oh, we have to like study indigenous cultures to even like figure out how to, that's how fucking far off we are.
Yeah, right.
From collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be cool. I don't know, you know, somebody like me, you know, I like the chat. I'm like, yeah, you know, that would be something like a promo, you know, something like come join and be one of the elite in collaboration.
Yes, and one of the things that they were also saying they do is overtraining. So they train their professionals in multitude of different situations. So I could see like the meditation and the other, you know, yoga, that's part of the specialized training, you know.
Cool.
Not only are you gaining a health benefit, but you're also learning to check in with the community and like get into those like rhythm and routines of developing like collaborative skill. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah, we kind of like talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, this might be my you know, I might be specializing in sales and marketing, you know, operations, but also, you know, I learned with this person how to do whatever, you know, project management, and here, and I also like, you know, have done, you know, sort of like some wellness coaching, right? And so so you can fill in different places. It's cool.
Yeah, to become more than just a collection of strangers, you know? Like, I think that's one of the weird things that's this capitalist sort of this end of capitalism. It's like trying to get like a group of like strangers. That's sort of the idea of scaling, you know? It's just like, oh yeah, if I can reach 1,000 people and, you know, and sell them something worth $100, then, you know, like it's kind of sales. And I'm not down on sales, but there is like the way that we scale is in this stacking of strangers. And these terms are coming from Joe Edelman, maybe. And he's got a course and an idea. I should try to find the link, but in space trains, spaces and stuff. Anyway, there's another model that we could play around with about sort of like decentralized, more you know, kind of mycelial scaling, where there is a group leaderless phase where like things collapse in times of like crisis, or where time gets in a crunch, where things sort of collapse down and there's a real unit, and it responds to the environment. Like right now, we're just 3 folk. You know, when we're at our largest sort of thing, we kind of operate in a different sort of way, and that we can expand and contract easily, effortlessly or genuinely, as opposed to it being like a real creak and a groan. It's like, oh no, we're a supple organism, like moving through the landscape, through the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love all that. So I mean, I do love that. That's very cool stuff. And there's a part of me, there's like the masculine part of me that's like, yeah, I want to train to be like the elite, but not in a way where I'm elite at like killing people, or maybe,
Right.
So there's it's something else, right? To funnel. So it's not that like, that Navy SEAL, the energy is a problem, but it's like where am I funneling that to? So yeah. So with that, so then what are our action steps? Anybody, right? And this is not like, I'm not saying like everybody has to do something, but if there is a willingness there, then that's I know that's also part of some of my job in the world is just to unearth the action steps and bother people until they come up with one.
Yeah. What do you think, Natalie?
What do I think about the elite operational members?
Sure, yeah.
Or
No,
what do you think about action steps?
Oh, action steps. Yeah, I mean, how to get there?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with what I said earlier, just creating a space to play in. And then, like Newman said, maybe having some of those, like, complete these tasks, and even the simple check mark, receiving the like, congratulations, you completed, phase one. It's pretty rewarding. Yeah. Just starting there. Because we're still kind of like in that summer phase. It's hard to get a hold of people. So having it, like, it doesn't need to be like, you can do it in your own time, when you have, and I don't know steps.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, and I know that I'm saying this, and I know that, I'm still like, I am still driving most of the, the action steps as far as like doing things and, figuring out what programs to use and stuff like that. So, and there may just not be, any yet. I mean, I think I think Newman, if you want to start like thinking about, kind of that onboarding process, I think that would be
the new
cool.
like how the onboarding process will shift a little bit now. We've got they've got like a public profile. We could go back to that to the materials that we created before.
Yeah.
Like that mind map and the presentation and the calendar stuff. That could be a thing.
Yeah. And maybe, I mean, I think that's something, you could think about. Maybe the rest of it is just something that needs, that might just like need that portal as a base, to then sort of work off of, and and then somebody work on this part of it. Somebody work on,
Once people sort of see it, once they see like profiles, and like we somehow integrate the profiles, like if we bring it front and center, whether we use like a graphic or there's we could kind of make it like our meetings and everything, it like that becomes part of the cohesive sort of brand, so that that you're here, you're at HSC as opposed to any of the other Zoom meetings. Like we could kind of like think in those type of terms, and such that it becomes relevant and important in the other parts of like HSC activity. And for instance, at and a lot of it has to do with like ritual and like so if we do have like a meditation group, and the meditation group meets on a certain time, then we could just say, hey, this is a sanctioned event, or this is an HSC event, and here's HSC, here's the logo, here's what it is. Maybe there's a minute long sort of description, presented by, Green Man Meditation, presented by HSC, and it somehow frames the story, and that people understand where the value, or who they're with, or the context, just an explainer. And then people will say, oh, I know what that's about. And, it's just like, whose party is this? Oh, how do I get my own party? That kind of thing. Those in my mind, in my vision, I kind of see that, where the group of folks do things, and that they remind people of this valuable thing that they're a part of, and it's open, and it's a network thing, meaning that the more people are involved, the more valuable it gets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah,
it's like creating a container for it.
Yeah. Somehow that and then maybe it's the experiment, like we fashion it such that other people feel like it's accessible for them to make their offering. It's like, oh, I really want to do this offering where it's just, I just do the empathetic or the non-empathetic listening. It's just, you sign up, you get 5, you can choose if you want to speak for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. And we just, maybe we all start with like a silent, 2 minutes to kind of settle in. And then, the other person just gets to talk. They just can talk, they can talk about whatever they want. And there's just somebody on the other end of the line listening to them, not doing anything else, just looking at them through Zoom and listening to them talk. There's no modality or intervention or expectation. It's just sort of talk. Maybe people just want to sit and not say anything. That'd be fine too. They want to talk about something deep. They want to talk about it's not recorded. But anyway, that would be an offering that I would love to do. And
I second that.
If we had a framework to facilitate me as a member, one, discovering what my offering is, and then bringing that offering out to a bigger audience, and providing them the audience, maybe even incentivizing the audience to like go to another member, ask for their offering, accept the offering, and that's it. Maybe they give feedback, maybe they don't, maybe they like it, maybe they don't, maybe they promote it, maybe they don't. But we have set the stage for this type of interaction to happen. Maybe it's a professional service, maybe it's not, maybe it's something that they're trying out, maybe it's not, maybe it's something that they, maybe it's professional, something that they've done many, many times, and maybe it's something that they're just testing out. I would love to get to that, like where we as a group can make that safe space or that low consequence spot to try things out. I think, Natalie, that's what you're talking about with this playground, aspect. I don't know how necessary, like where that, like the next action happens with that. Perhaps this, maybe some talk on the Discord. I've got this thing called the Strategizer. Have we talked about this before? The Strategizer cards. I'm
not sure.
Strategizer cards. It's like a business model for a business strategy thing. And they talk about experiments, and it's just like, okay, they have a set experiment card where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this experiment, and then like, what is it that I think will happen? What am I going to do? What's the method? How will I measure it? etc. Anyway, that might be a fun way to sort of test out the ideas, and document the ideas that we're trying out stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. I usually talk about them as 2-hour meetings, Natalie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so thank you for bringing that in, and some, well, there was more to say there. Yeah, but I think we talk about them as 2-hour meetings, and then sometimes we end up going over, because it's one of those things where we like this stuff, we like this stuff, and but I do think it's good. So yeah, I mean, should we kind of start to wrap up? How do
Yeah. I'm at
Yeah.
the end of. I'm at the end.
Yeah, and Natalie, anything else? I mean, I don't know if Kevin is around, but but if he has, if he's around, and anything else, I really appreciated like what he was asking, the questions he was saying, and what he was bringing in, and I know I mean, there was a way where like it pushed against a little bit of like where I'm at now, which I think is right in a positive way. Yeah, is really good. So I want to be thinking about that. And it seems like he's got, I don't know, it just seems like he's got a lot of like wisdom, around entrepreneurship and startups and business development, so
Yeah,
that's really
second nature.
Yeah, that's really valuable. So, if he has, I guess what I'm saying is, if any other thoughts, pop in from him, he can, you or he can feel free to message or email me, and yeah, I think that'd be really valuable. And if he has any other thoughts on like, because I know, he does some, development and things like that as well. So if he has any other thoughts on like what what might be a tool to use that can, something instead of Notion, something that we can get going, pretty quickly, but might work better, then for sure open to that.
Okay.
Certainly. Yeah, he slipped away into his own work, but I will,
Great.
I don't know why I haven't suggested or like invited him to the Discord, but maybe
Yeah.
I'll do that. Now that you've met him, you'll know, that'll be good. And yeah, the only other thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that you mentioned you're the head leader for now, but I imagine there will be an opportunity where the leadership can be a little bit more fluid at a point, like, once the offerings start being seen, there will be people stepping up and taking action in different areas. So yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So thanks
Yeah.
for rocking that. You're the head of the ship right now, just taking all the big waves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that's what, I mean, there's something, that I think has been, kind of shown to me, over this last, while, which is like, I think if this thing flies, it has to fly, in this kind of way where there's not like one central person holding it. I just think that's how it's going to work, and if it takes that, then it's not really, it's not exactly like that, the model that we're going for anyways.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Thanks for brainstorming.
Thank you both. It's really great. Yeah, it was really great. I really appreciate all the feedback, and and the enthusiasm, and it's good if you go and polish the head of that boat, every once in a while, it's going to be happy to keep doing its thing.
Nice, man. All right. Thanks. Take care.
All right. Take care. Thanks, y'all. And be in touch soon, I'm sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Newman. Bye, Rob.
Bye.